I am making this video immediately after the Pahalgam attack, in which 26 tourists were killed in Kashmir by the Pakistani army's proxies. And so naturally the reference would be recent. It would be to the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir's recent speech, where he called Kashmir the jugular vein of Pakistan, where he spoke about the two-nation theory, saying that Hindus and Muslims constituted two separate nations. And the references also to Pakistan's failing economy, its increasing dependence on multilateral institutions, on how India is growing but Pakistan is not, and that is why Pakistan feels the need to do something on Indian soil. I am not at all saying that that is not important. A discussion of the immediate context is important indeed to understand what's going on. But what is even more important is to understand how Pakistan is defined as a nation state. And in order to understand how Pakistan is defined as a nation state, it is important to go back into history. Unless we look at Pakistan's definition as a country, we won't be able to understand why Pakistan keeps on doing this to India, why it encourages terror, why it indulges in terror all the time against India. I am talking of the issue of definition here. And what are we going to define here? We are going to define what is Pakistan. What really is Pakistan? To be absolutely sure, Pakistan was envisioned as an Islamic state. An Islamic state that would be different from what the champions of Pakistan called as Hindu India. So there was going to be Islamic Pakistan and there was going to be a Hindu India from their point of view. This philosophy took root from the 1880s onwards, when Syed Ahmad first spoke of the two-nation theory. In 1888, Syed Ahmad, the founder of the Aligarh Muslim University, said that Hindus and Muslims constituted two separate nations. The theory of Pakistan was for the first time well defined by Muhammad Iqbal, who is also known as Allama Iqbal, in 1930. That was when it was properly defined. And subsequently, it was further refined and further powerfully defined, mainly in the United Provinces of India, that is today's Uttar Pradesh and those parts of India. And Pakistan was defined as some sort of new Medina. The proponents of Pakistan and the theorists of Pakistan were saying that this would be an Islamic state as against Hindu India. What happened to that definition, and what has happened to that definition till date? Very early on, that definition turned out to be completely hollow. Because when the partition of India happened, all the Muslims did not shift to Pakistan. A large number preferred, in fact, to stay back in India. This was at the time of partition. Let us even look at what happened before partition. Though Pakistan was being projected as this big Islamic state, in the regions that now constitute Pakistan, which were the Muslim majority regions, the Muslim League got very poor votes in the 1937 elections. In fact, it got only 4.4% of the vote in the Muslim majority areas. Which were these Muslim majority areas? There was Sindh, Baluchistan, Punjab, and there was the northwest frontier province, which is today called as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So in all these areas, they did not get a good number of votes, and the provincial political parties got a good number of votes. Now this proved another theory wrong. Jinnah was trying to sell the idea of independent Muslim states. So not one state, but Muslim states. Here was a contradiction. Iqbal on the one hand was talking of one solid Islamic state. Jinnah was talking of one Islamic state, and he was at the same time talking of separate independent Islamic states and not just one state. So here the definition itself got diluted. Secondly, if you admitted to independent Islamic states instead of one state, then how could Bangladesh not constitute a separate nation? Then Bangladesh's separation is completely justified by that logic. Anyway, to keep the logic of the independent Islamic states apart, that never worked. So Jinnah gravitated towards the idea of one single Islamic bloc called Pakistan. Even if that were considered to be the definition, what happened to that definition? As I said earlier, not everyone shifted to Pakistan. Not all Muslims from India shifted to Pakistan. Number two, if it is an Islamic state and it is being projected as an Islamic state, which is the ideal state for the unity of Muslims from all over, then where was the unity of Muslims right from the beginning, and where has it been since then? There have been countless ethnic clashes in Pakistan. There have been countless religious and sectarian clashes in Pakistan, with a number of Muslim minority sects harassed, discriminated against, their members killed, their shrines demolished, and all kinds of inhuman treatment meted out to Muslims belonging to a sect other than the main Sunni sect. So the idea of one Islamic bloc was blown to smithereens right from the word go. The third argument: if Pakistan is indeed an Islamic bloc and indeed started out as an Islamic state, then why has Afghanistan always been its enemy? Why has Iran always been its enemy? Why have so many countries in West Asia not really been its great friends? There goes that argument one more time. So the argument of an Islamic state has not worked at all. So then what did Pakistan do? Pakistan right from the beginning realized that the idea was going to be completely hollow. So then Jinnah began speaking of Kashmir as the jugular vein of Pakistan, and the Pakistani leadership started speaking of Kashmir as the unfinished business of partition. That is why in 1947-48 the Pakistani army regulars carried out raids in Jammu and Kashmir. That is why from that time onwards they have endlessly tried to create trouble in Kashmir and tried to get Kashmir away from India. It still hasn't happened, and Pakistan continues to struggle. It continues to come together as a country. It is a country which has no positive definition of itself. So then how does one define Pakistan? Well, now I'm going to tell you Pakistan's real definition. Pakistan's definition is that which is not India. Finally, Pakistan had to concede, and right from the beginning, in fact, it had to operate in such a way that Pakistan was a place that was not India. Pakistan defines itself in anti-India terms. Without India, there is no Pakistan. And if it is not India, Pakistan cannot be a legitimate country in its own right. It is India that gives it legitimacy. It is India that gives it its definition. Pakistan is equal to anti-India. Now that is the biggest problem that India has to keep in mind when it goes forward. It is an issue that it should have kept in mind all along, but it hasn't completely done that. But it must keep in mind that issue if it has to go forward and progress as a country. Because Pakistan defines itself as anti-India, it has continued to perpetrate acts of terror, and it has continued to prosecute wars against India, though there is no reason for perpetrating terror or prosecuting wars against India. India is essentially a peace-loving country. India desires progress. Pakistan desires to needle India. Pakistan desires to create trouble for India, because if it does not do that, Pakistan is incomplete as a country, and it will forever struggle as a country. That is why no matter how many peace overtures India will make to Pakistan, no matter how many offers of peace India has made in the past to Pakistan, will make in the present, and will make in the future to Pakistan, Pakistan is not going to stop doing what it has been doing. The American scholar C. Christine Fair has interestingly observed in one of her books that Pakistan does not mind being defeated by India. Now that again has got to do with the definition of Pakistan as anti-India. Now what do we mean when we say that Pakistan does not mind being defeated by India? When this American scholar says that, what she means is that for Pakistan, a defeat by India, militarily a defeat by India, is not really a defeat. Even if it is humiliated, even if it's shamed in wars, as it has been consistently shamed in wars, it will not see it as a defeat. What it will see as a defeat is not being able to challenge India and not challenging India. So for Pakistan, not challenging India is a defeat, and not needling India is a defeat, because it shakes its foundations as a country. But if it goes to war with India and gets defeated, it still justifies its definition as a country that can survive in its own right. So it can get defeated, it doesn't mind get defeated. And this, I think, is a very important point that Christine Fair has made in her academic study of Pakistan. That Pakistan is a nation state, it is essentially an illegitimate nation state that relies on this definition of itself, which it itself denies, but it is a fact that it is anti-India. And no matter how many offers of peace India makes to Pakistan, Pakistan will continue to create trouble for India. Not only in Kashmir definitely it has been doing that, but across the country. If Kashmir was the unfinished business of partition, then what was Pakistan doing helping insurgents in Bodoland, helping insurgents in other parts of the northeast like the Mizo rebels in the 1950s and the 1960s? That was because at that time it had East Pakistan from which it could create trouble, but that later became Bangladesh. So Kashmir is not a problem. India is the problem for Pakistan, and India's existence as a country is a problem for Pakistan. India going forward, progressing along the path of economic prosperity, social harmony, social cohesiveness, and political will, and a very strong electoral democracy is a problem for Pakistan. Pakistan's problem is existential. India has to keep that in mind when it responds this time to the Pahalgam crisis. Because no matter how many times you defend yourself, this is not a problem that's going to go away. Pakistan is equal to anti-India. Keep that in mind and find the solution. And we better ensure that the solution is such that actually addresses this issue of Pakistan's existence as an anti-India state. What do you think of my views on the matter? Please let me know, dear friends. Do subscribe to my channel if you like this video, and do press the bell button for notifications on my latest videos. Thank you so much. This is Vaibhav Purandare signing off. Thanks.